Hi, this is Yvonne from Scrappy Mania, and today I'm gonna show you how to create these garlands. These garlands are something that it's available. It's hip now for your layouts. You buy them at Two Peas in a Bucket has them. A lot of the online stores has them, and I believe they're made by Studio Calico. And look how pretty it will look on a layout. I don't have this on my local scrapbooking store, so I decided I wanted to create my old garland to see how they show up. So I think it came out pretty good. These papers here are from the Mariposa line. The good thing about doing your own garland is that you can match it with your paper. So you could, like this one, when I'm using the Mariposa papers, I can use this and it will coordinate with my paper line. So I'm going to show you how to create this. Now I'm using a handheld sewing machine to create this, but if you can also use a regular sewing machine, and I think it will come out a little nicer if you use a regular sewing machine, because you won't have to skip stitched. Some of these have skipped stitches on it, but I think even with the skipped stitch, it looks darling. It doesn't matter. It will look very nice on whatever page I put it in. It really doesn't affect it much. I tried to make it because I wanted the circles to be smaller, so I tried to use a circle punch, and I think this is 1/2 inch. Does not work. Your shape needs to be at least 1 inch or larger in order for you to be able to sew through it and create your garland. So this one is using the McGill flower punch. This one is using the Spirelli. I'm going to actually show you one that I'm going to create using octagon, and actually I'm using my gypsy, and I'm going to use my Cricut. But you don't have to use a gypsy or a die cutting machine. You can do it with any punch. You can even do it freehand. So if you have a circle template, you can trace it and cut it by hand. But I'm going to create this. I already have, I used the Georgian basic shape, and I used the octagon that's on that cartridge. And if you have a gypsy, more likely you have, or Cricut, more likely you have that cartridge. If not, I believe there are other cartridges that do have an octagon or any shape. You can even use a butterfly. You can use a heart, whatever you want to use. But I wanted to use an octagon. So I went ahead and put a bunch of rolls of my octagon on a 12 by 12 layout. I want a background for it. So I do not want to create my shape plain. I wanted some kind of background, so I'm going to use this chevron. And the chevron, I got it at Michael's in the dollar bin area, and it was on a wood block. However, I could not see on the wood block the pattern, so that way I can stamp it, and so that it wouldn't be any gaps. Like you can see here, I can really use it here, and I don't see any gaps. So what I did is I peeled it off the block. I mounted a very thin wood, and this is wood veneer that I had from a project in my garage, and I just adhered it there and then cut the shape out. Cut a little real close to the shape, the excess rubber. And that way I can really tell where I'm stamping. Now this cardstock is just a regular cream color cardstock. The ink that I'm using is a Stampin' Up! Ink, and this is the Creamy Caramel. And it's the classic ink. I would kind of recommend that you use an ink that will not react with water, because I want to create a generic neutral color, generic color, so that way I can always spritz it or paint it in order to coordinate with my paper pad. So if I use any ink that reacts with water, when I do spritz it, it's gonna blur and bleed, and I don't want that. I want my image to remain pretty crisp. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp my whole page, and then I'll be back and we'll feed it through the Cricut and we're going to sew it together. So I'll be back. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and place my paper on my background paper. Now, something I just noticed, this is brand new paper. Actually, this paper pad, I got it with, when I purchased my envelope puncher by We Are Memory Keeper. I purchased at HSN and it came with a pack of 12 by 12 cardstock. Well, it's not 12 by 12 because this is the second one. This actually was the first one that I got, and I had to cut the image a little smaller because it's not exactly 12 by 12. So I thought it was just, maybe I cut this paper. But now this is the second sheet that I took out of that pack that came with the scoring board or with the punch board. And it also is a ½ inch short on each side. So let me go ahead and edit my cut file because otherwise it's going to cut out. And I'll be back and we'll send it through the Cricut. So I had to adjust a little bit my image so that way the image won't go past 11.5, which is on each side. I think that will do it. So I'm going to go over to my Cricut. I'm going to feed this in and I shall be back. Okay, so I cut up my shape. So let me pull this out. And by the way, don't throw this away. This is perfect for stencil. You can use it one or like 2 or 3 times before you have to throw it away. If you lightly missed it, then you can use it at least 3 times. If you saturate it with color, with glimmer mist, you only can use it like once, the most twice. So here's my pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out. So let me take 2 out. And what you're going to do is, you're going to take, I like to have it nice and sturdy, so I'm going to take 2 pieces like you see here. This one are doubled because I want it real sturdy, so when I sew it together, it's not going to kind of bend on me or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere one on top of the other, like you see here. And then I'm going to take my ink pad and I'm going to take a sponge. And I can sponge the edges just to give it a little definition. Turn it around and sponge the other edge. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that to all my pieces and I'll be back and we'll sew it all together. Okay, I went ahead and threaded my Singer handheld sewer with some gold thread because I wanted to use gold thread on here. Now I created another garland using silver. Here's silver. So, and actually once you sew through it, I'll show you in a little bit, but once you sew them, you need to go ahead and put some fray check or some glue at each of the edges of your sewing, of your stitch line, if you're using this handheld stitch, because it doesn't do back stitch, and I noticed that it's not a really it sews, but the sewing is not the same as a regular sewing machine. So it does unravel a lot easier. So that's why I always put a little bit of glue, or even on my pages, if you notice, I tape down the edges so that way it won't unravel. So I was making some, and I used some silver. So now for this one, because it is yellowish, I'm going to use some gold thread, and I also have some small ones and some big ones on here. So let me go ahead and start sewing the big one. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and try to get them. I try to sew in the middle right here. So try to sew right. So I try to get it right here. So I sew in the middle. So you're going to go ahead and hold on. And then bring it out. So I bring it out kind of about this much. Do you see there? So like maybe 1/8 of an inch out. And then I thread the next one. And I kind of guide it. Now I'm ready for the next one. And you keep doing that. So here you keep threading it through kind of, I'm actually doing the larger shape now. So you keep threading it, trying to keep it consistent on the amount of extra thread that you leave from one to the other. And if you had a sewing machine, regular sewing machine, you can use both of your hands to help guide your shapes in. But with practice, this little one is pretty good. I mean, I prefer to, I do have a regular sewing machine, but I see myself using this smaller one. It's a lot easier for crafting than my big sewing machine. Now I'm alternating. I'm doing one small one, one large one, then one small one, and then another large one. So, and the reason why I'm kind of alternating is because I'm not going to use this whole strip on one layout. I'm going to use a lot of bits and pieces for multiple layout. So having the variety will be nice for my layout. So there I have my garland. Now before I do anything, I'm going to use some of this glue. And I like to put glue on the edges. Just to seal it. And see how it's coming out a little bit there? The stitch is not quite right. So if you put some adhesive, it'll, when it dries, it'll dry with the the thread on there. And this is, it dries clear. And you keep doing that to all your pieces. And then I usually just hang this somewhere on a hanger. I hang it up and I let it dry. And then it comes out like this one. Once it's dry, like you see here, they're going to be nice and sturdy and everything. All the ends will not unravel. So then you can use it on your pieces. So here's one that I created also. And let me show you this silver one that I did using silver thread. Here's the other one. And right now I have glue, so it's kind of, I have it hanging on a hanger and it's drying. So here's another one. So I hope you like this tutorial and try your hand at creating these garlands. And I am going to upload a video later on using one of these garlands in a layout. So thank you for watching. Bye now. Okay, I forgot to show you how to store this, because once they're dry, they tangle pretty easily. So what you're going to need is you're going to need a cardboard. So I'm going to cut this cardboard. Then you're going to put this, and you can even use a little, let me see if I have a pin. I know I have a pin somewhere, but anyhow, either tape or pin. And then you can just wrap it around. Okay, and this is how you can store it, so that way they don't get all tangled up. So I hope you like the tutorial. Let me show you the other ones. They're already dried. This is the one that we just created, and I will go ahead and wrap it up in one of these, and store it away. So I hope you like my tutorial and thank you for watching. Bye.